Okay, at this time, I'd like to call the Physical Services Committee meeting for April 5th, 2021 to order. Please call the roll.
Counselor Hill.
Here.
Counselor Burridge.
Bird. Here.
Counselor Walker.
Here.
Counselor Gozick.
Here.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of our March 15th, 2021 committee meeting?
The system's not on.
We're good? Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of our March 15th, 2021 meeting? Counselor Walker, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Is there any old business to come before this committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business under communication. Item number 1, the Zoning and Planning Office received a request from Jason Bouchard, proprietor of Riverside Sports LLC, for the use of public space in order to place 2 vending machines at the West First Street Fish Cleaning Station. Is someone here to speak to this? Just please state your name.
My name is Jason Bouchard. With Riverside Sports, business I'm starting up in hopes to gain access to public space to install a vending machine selling fishing tackle and fishing bait near the fish cleaning stations down at the marina and over by the post office.
Do members of the committee have any questions for Mr. Bouchard? Councilor Walker.
This is probably to the city attorney. Who would be liable if your machines are damaged or, vandalism or something?
I would hold harmless to the city for any damages caused by caused to the machine.
Okay.
And I'll have insurance.
Yeah, the resolution includes a $1 million insurance policy that holds the city harmless.
Yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Bouchard? Councilor Cordino.
Through the chair, do you have current accounts with other municipalities for this type of service? And
Not yet.
how often do you service these machines?
No, yeah, this is the proprietary machine starting in Oswego with hopes to venture out from here.
And how often do you service them or refill them or whatever you do with them?
I would be maintaining them personally, and they'd be monitored remotely and checked on daily or weekly, whatever the case may be, to replenish supplies, clean, whatever I need to do.
I assume, are these machines refrigerated?
They're going to be refrigerated and rated for outdoor use.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. So are there any questions from any other members of the council, of the public? We have somebody? Yep, go ahead, Miles.
Thank you. I watched him all fall along, okay? You know I'm John. He does an excellent job maintaining that building. He always kept it clean, and he took care of his customers real well. I recommend it.
Yeah, so the record should note that he has been operating the fish cleaning station. So are you
I
having?
haven't been operating it. John Pafundi operates.
Are you working with him or?
No.
Okay, so we need to, I'm not sure what Miles is referencing then. So, but do you have a relationship?
I'm just acquaintances from fishing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So are there any concerns from the council on this request? This is kind of new territory. Any concerns from the city attorney?
Not a concern as much as a suggestion that there be someplace on the vending machines that has the telephone number of your company and not the city of Oswego. Right?
Yep.
And that should be pretty prominent because we don't want to field your calls. Right? We're giving you permission, if this passes, to use public space for this purpose. But as to Councilor Walker's point, this is your responsibility, and you're holding us harmless, and that would be part of that obligation. So.
Okay. And there's no similar business in the area that you would be competing with? What would be the closest competitor that offers the same service?
I don't know if they're open now or not. There used to be Larry's tackle, but
Larry's the one that, the building
Salmon
that's
shop
now
guy.
the eye doctor?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I think he's closed up, so.
Yeah, and a lot of people that I talk to, that I fish with, friends and people that regulars I see down there, and regulars from out of town that come here, I talk to everybody, and, you know, I told them about the idea, and they love it. Even, I also had some inventory that I've just started selling through my website and word of mouth, and I'll deliver to the river right now if someone calls me and needs supplies. So once I get these vending machines up, hopefully, the machine I'm looking at has video screens on it. Hopefully I can put some PSAs on there for the river, and maybe advertising for other business in the city. You know, I think PSAs from the city to the local fishermen about, you know, water safety and things like that would be important to add to, and it'd be a good option to have.
Okay. I would ask that the resolution includes our ability to revoke the permit if it is not maintained, if there's issues of any sort that would cause concern to the public, cause an unsafe environment or anything like that. The Planning and Zoning Office, I believe, supplied the resolution, so we'll want to make sure that we get that included when it goes to council.
That's
Since
fine.
this is new and it's kind of new territory, I want to make
Like I
sure
said,
that we're
everything is
covered in the event
proprietary.
that,
I think we should,
you know, something happens.
Yeah, if anything happens, we can certainly address it, and like I said, it's proprietary. I wanna test the waters here and see if it's something that, you know, we can make a positive impact on the fishing community.
Okay. And will this generate any sort of sales tax revenue or, okay.
That's the main goal.
So you have an existing account with New York State to pay sales tax and,
I do.
perfect, okay.
Through the chair, in terms of the powering of these machines, is it require electricity, or is it battery powered, or how are we?
That is something I haven't addressed and I need to learn more about, how I would supply the power, how I would pay for the power to my machines. Something I'd probably have to talk to Tom Pelzo about.
So you'd need to hook up to an electrical source. It's
Yeah,
not
I'd
battery
have to plug
powered,
it in,
right?
sure.
So that is another issue
Yep.
that we'll have to resolve, because we can't provide you free power.
Right.
That would be a gift, which is prohibited, but I'm certain that there can be something worked out. And maybe we'll have to defer to some extent to the commissioner on how that would be worked out, but that should also be part of the resolution.
It's,
Okay.
it's really highly perceived that I would have these machines with the video screens put advertising and public service announcements or anything. You know, the city can actually use that as an avenue to address within that market.
And that may be a resolution. I'm just saying that it can't be, you know, a prohibited gift of electricity, right? But if there is some, either a trade-off by way of payment or usage, if we do have a use, and I think that's a great idea, by the way, putting some public service announcements on fishermen safety, but I don't know enough about it to quantify it to see if that's an even trade. I need to just obviously make you all aware that we can't just give that power away.
I was
Absolutely.
thinking about that too. I was concerned about the same thing.
So what would, City Attorney, what would your recommendation be as far as that aspect of the resolution, or?
Well, we have, you know.
This came through zoning and planning and not
Right.
Public Works, so
And-
it's a little different than,
Yeah, and I understand that. We have a week to work it out, but what I think, where I think I'm going with this is to work with, you know, the Public Works, engineering, come up with some type of a quantified arrangement where either we are receiving payment for the electricity being used or some in-kind service, as the gentleman noted, whether it's the use of his video screens for promoting fishermen safety, and I don't even know if we have those directly that are produced by the city or we borrow from somewhere else, but I think we can work this out.
okay.
So I would probably, I'll take a look at the resolution and offer some amendments, but knowing that there will probably be at least an additional provision, well, in addition to the revocable aspect of it, I do like that recommendation as well.
Okay. Perfect. Great. So there's some work to do before the council meeting on Monday. So, all right, any other questions from the council? Okay. Could I have a motion, please? Counselor Walker, Counselor Burridge.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Item number 2, Tom Kells, DPW Commissioner, received a request from Brittany Rogers on behalf of the SLELO Prism to have a boat launch steward educator at the public boat launch at Wright's Landing for the 2021 summer season. Is anyone here to speak to this request? No one? Okay. Again, this is a pretty standard request to have educators down at Wright's Landing for the boaters. Do members of the council have any questions? Could I have a motion, please? Counselor Burridge, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Item number 3, the Special Events Committee has received a request from the Greater Oswego Fulton Chamber of Commerce requesting the use of public space and road closures for the annual weekly farmers market to be held on Thursdays beginning June 3rd, 2021 to October 7th, 2021. Is there anyone here to speak to this request? I don't see anyone. I did speak with the director of the chamber. Again, very standard request, requesting the same road closures and times as usual. Did anyone have any questions on this? Okay. Could I have a motion, please? Counselor Gozick, Counselor Burridge.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Item number 4, the City of Oswego Special Events Committee, through the Office of Economic Development, has received a request from the Oswego Lions Club regarding the annual River's Edge Craft Show to be held on Sunday, June 13th, 2021, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Anyone here to speak to this event? Okay. Again, another standard request that has come before us before. I did speak with the Director of Economic Development, and he said all of the requests have been vetted for COVID adaptiveness, so they will have all required and necessary safety precautions in place, and they will be all working in consultation with the County Health Department. So that should ease any concerns on that front. Any questions from the council? Okay, could I have a motion, please? Counselor Walker, Counselor Burridge.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Item number 5, the Community Development Office has received a request from Mayor City East Nice, Executive Director of the H. Lee White Maritime Museum, regarding the H. Lee White's Museum Paddle Fest to be held on Saturday, July 17, 2001. Again, another standard request. This request was put to the DPW, who indicated there would be no concerns with using Wright's Landing for the boats, so that shouldn't be an issue. Again, this will be COVID compliant and done in consultation with the County Health Department. Any questions from the council? Okay. Could I have a motion, please? Counselor Gozick, Counselor Burridge.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
And item number 6, the Special Events Committee, through the Office of Economic Development, has received a request from the Oswego YMCA regarding the 32nd Annual Harbor Fest 5K and 10K community event to be held on Saturday, July 24th, 2021, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, recurring event. Any questions on this one? Okay, could I have a motion, please? Counselor Burridge, Counselor Walker.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Is there any other business to come before this committee? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Counselor Burridge, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
I'd like to call the Planning and Development Committee to order, please. Call the roll.
Counselor Walker.
Here.
Counselor McBurdy. Counselor Cordino.
Here.
Could I get a motion to approve the minutes held, the meeting held March 1st, 2021? Counselor Cordino, Counselor McBurdy.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor McBurdy.
Yes.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes.
Any old business? Seeing none, we'll go right down to communication. Carolyn Anderson, Animal Control Officer, requests discussion for the approval of proposed amendments to Chapter 63, Animals of the City of Oswego Code. The process requires a public hearing to be scheduled April 26th, 2021. Ms. Anderson?
So it's been, I don't know the exact year, but I can tell you it's been 20, 30 years since any of the livestock laws in the city code have been addressed. And some of these changes are pretty much just very common in other municipalities already, that would put in effect some limits on what you can own in the city limits. For instance, you can't own mini horses and things like that if we're able to put these things through. The only thing that this, the new update would permit would be chickens, and it would be a maximum of 6, and people would have to have a permit, and they would be inspected annually. There are multiple residents throughout the city that do have a couple of backyard chickens, and we really don't get many complaints about them. We get more complaints when people bring goats home, and ducks, and mini horses, and have 95 chickens, and things. That's when the complaints start to come in. And there's also an exception in there for bees, because there are a couple of people that have some hives, little tiny backyard hives where they do honey, and I've never had any complaints about those either from any of the residents. Finally, we have one potential amendment in here. Right now, our law states that people can't buy chickens or ducklings in quantities of less than 25. Every year, for the past several years, we've had to come forward, the clerk has had to come forward and get an amendment for that for Country Max and Tractor Supply to sell in quantities of 6, which is in keeping with the state number. So all this does is this changes our quantity of 25 to the state standard of 6. So people, because the majority of the sales for Country Max and Tractor Supply don't go to the city. They go to outlying areas, and that was just creating a lot more work for the clerk's office to have to come in and do an exception every year. And there's one other law or ordinance that we're proposing, because we've received some complaints lately about people feeding animals not in containers, loose in piles of food in their yard, and attracting rodents and attracting wildlife. And there's an ordinance that we're requesting to be added that people can't be feeding animals out in the open in a way that causes food to be available to rodents. So basically, if your food's in a bird feeder, that's acceptable. If you have a cat that comes indoors and outdoors and you feed it in your enclosed porch, that's not an issue. It's just when it's out in the open in the backyard and attracting wildlife and rodents and causing a problem to the neighborhood.
Very good, thank you. I just have a few questions. What's the maximum amount of chickens that you can have? I'm trying to look right now. No more than 6 chickens allowed at each property, correct?
Correct, and there's a lot more specifics on that, because it's gonna eliminate most people who have a small piece of property, because it has to be a certain number of feet from the
Feet
property
from the dwelling
line.
next door.
Exactly, so, it is 6, but it's in 6 with people who have very large yards,
Right.
so,
Well, that's very good, because we've ran into a lot of problems with them lately. And you
Yes.
got a leg to stand on to take care of the problem, so.
exactly. And people would be required to apply for a permit. They would be inspected annually, and then they would have to make changes if they were not providing proper care or causing a problem where their neighbors complained because of smells or anything like that, and they would have to remedy those.
And now you have to have a chicken coop?
Yep.
You're saying?
And a pen. You can't
And a
let them,
pen?
yep, you can't let them loose, so we won't have issues with that, hopefully.
Good.
They have to be an enclosed pen and a coop in order to keep them in, and it has to be, I have to look at the exact specifications here, but I believe that it was 20 feet from the property line, might have been.
Coop, yeah.
So that can make it so we have, basically it's going to be limited to larger properties. Let me see. 25 feet from any neighboring dwelling and 10 feet from any property line, so.
Very good. Any questions from the council? Oh, we got a lot of them.
Yes.
We'll go to Mr. Cordino.
Through the chair, I'm not sure if this is a question for you or for the city attorney. So what happens if my neighbor next door has a miniature horse and I'm not sure how this would work. What happens if somebody has a horse right now in their backyard and we pass this law? Do they have to get rid of it? Do they have to, are they grandfathered in? How does this work?
I think that, I mean, it's not zoning, it's an ordinance that deals with the, the control of animals. Be my position, because it's an annual requirement, that, they may end up having to find a new location for that animal.
All right, so-
I don't, that is something that is worthy of discussion here. If there's a sunset provision, I mean, the way that the law is proposed right now, and Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't a specific sunset provision. So it would, if it's in effect, it's in effect now and immediately to be enforced.
So should we put some verbiage in there that says, once the law goes in effect, you have 30 days, 60 days to comply, or this is what's going to happen to you?
So you can do one of two things. Yeah, you can make that provision. You can have a provision that says the effective date, this will go into effect on a particular date, and then build in that time frame for people to make those arrangements. That's possible. I think between now and Monday, or actually 2 weeks, because today is just to set the public hearing, we'll coordinate with the clerk's office and prepare an actual amendment that complies with the general code requirements, because what you have before you are references to amendments that will show up in Article or Chapter 63, but it doesn't, these are just the exceptions for bees and certain types of chicken, and then it adds the other provision that Carrie talked about, but we ought to see it all in that local law form. And then within that, and I guess I would invite discussion tonight on an effective date. Do you want to give 30, 60, or some other time frame? Because once you file a local law in Albany, the default provision is that it becomes effective immediately upon filing. But you can always put in your own date upon which a law is effective.
All right, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, concerns? Mr. Gozick?
I just had one, but because this actually happened after 5 years on the council, seen just about everything, but it was section 2 on the chickens, and this one here says, at no time shall chickens be allowed to run at large, and any impounded chicken will be subject to redemption fee $50. I mean, there was a case, I had a guy who seeded his lawn, and he had on his, he had a surveillance camera thing in the front of his house that showed the chicken running up. I mean, do they have to, if someone has something like that, would the people get in trouble? Or only because it's actually happened, and or would they have to would you have to catch the chickens on the street?
So technically, if it is in keeping with like the dog at-large law, they can be ticketed if somebody can produce evidence that the chicken was off their property, like if they could show that. So they could receive, a ticket for a violation. The $50 fee that is mentioned in there would be if we impounded the chicken. So for instance, I had an issue over on West 3rd Street where some very delightful little chickens were getting out of their pen, and we impounded them, and the owner called almost immediately, and we don't have a fee in effect for that. So, we just kind of had to give them back with a warning. So that would just hopefully help deter people from allowing their chickens to wander.
Thank you.
Councilor Hill?
I wanted to speak to the animal feeding provision that we're adding. I actually reached out to Ms. Anderson about this because we have a situation where there's a mass buffet being put out for animals, and it's not, for a couple of cats. It's for skunks, raccoons, rats, wolves, anything that they can attract to their yard. I think she thinks she's Dr. Doolittle, but and it's causing some major disturbances in the neighborhood. The swimming pool directly behind the property is just covered in bird, droppings. And, it's unsafe. It causes a lot of disruption. My question, I'm not familiar with Chapter 63. So are you responsible for enforcement, and do you have immediate ticketing ability for violations that occur?
Yes.
Okay,
that-
so
yeah.
this would fall under all of the other provisions under that section?
Yes.
And you would have full authority to act as you would with any other violation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we could ticket and,
Perfect.
or
Okay.
we, typically with situations, we try, if it's a situation where someone doesn't understand the law, we give them a warning.
Sure.
We say, this is the law, you need to comply. We ask for compliance. If it's a situation where it's a chronic thing, then yes, I do have the ability to ticket, but we do try to work with people if, especially with something, if they didn't know that they were breaking the law.
And that,
Situation like that.
based on that, my recommendation would be that the effective date be as soon as possible rather than delay it, because some of the impacts that are going to be corrected under this revision are pretty substantial and happening right now. So maybe we need to build in something specific to any animals that will have to be taken care of, but
Work on
Just-
that stipulation on that part. Thank you. Yes, Counselor.
Do we actually have miniature horses inside the city at the present moment?
At
Goats?
this time, I am aware of somebody that called to ask if it was prohibited. There's one in particular that I did know about that is no longer there, so there might be another one. But,
So right now, we don't have to worry about that. So we can
well,
vote on this.
I think that Counselor Cordino is saying that there is one that he's aware of.
Well, I think you're talking about the same one I am.
That's no longer there.
Well, then.
The one
we're
on
good
Barrack
then.
Street?
The horses been let out.
Yes, the one that was in your ward that we had an issue with is gone. So,
Very good.
That'll solve that problem?
yep, absolutely.
and the goat is gone as well.
Any more questions?
Through the chair, just one quick story for those who don't know it, but Ms. Anderson, my office, and the code department within the last year or year and a half ended up removing in excess of 100 chickens and, well, more than that, I think a couple of hundred chickens and 100 quail from a traditional neighborhood, the most restrictive residential neighborhood in the city of Oswego, where there was also a very active slaughtering and processing and wholesale distribution business operating in this particular house in this very, very dense neighborhood. And so, if for no other reason than to prevent that type of activity from occurring, I think this is a law well worth updating at this time.
Yes, thank you. Any more questions, concerns? Well, truthfully, I think this is well overdue to get this ball rolling, and I thank you guys for doing it. Could I get a motion, please?
You're not going to motion?
Counselor Cordino? Counselor McBrady?
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor McBurdy.
Yes.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes.
Thank you.
I tried, so.
You tried. Any more new business? Seeing none, could I get a motion to adjourn, please? Counselor Cordino? Counselor McBrady?
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor McBurdy.
Yes.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the Administrative Services Committee meeting for April 5th. Please call the roll.
Counselor Cordino.
Here.
Counselor McBurdy.
Here.
Counselor Hill.
Here.
Counselor Plunkett.
Here.
Counselor Burridge.
Here.
I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the committee meeting held March 15th, 2021. Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Hill.
Counselor Cordino.
Yes?
Counselor McBurdy.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Any old business? Seeing none. Item number 1, under communication, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. requests authorization for a 5-year extension of the current lease with the Arts Association at the Arts Civic Center in Ford, Ontario Complex. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Tammy Thompson reached out to me from the Arts Association. I think everybody knows where that building is. It's a city-owned building over in the Fort Ontario complex. We have a lease with the art associations and some other groups in that building. They've been great tenants, and they actually recently received a grant award from the Shinneman Foundation to do some upgrades that we're looking forward to. So simultaneously, they came to us to ask for a extension of the lease. So we're keeping all terms the same. This is one of those relationships where the rent is $1 a year. They're actually quite an asset to the community, so we're honored to give them a home, and we'd like to keep the relationship going. So all the terms remain the same. It's a 5-year extension with the same rent, and I actually invited Tammy and some folks from the association to give the council an update on the association and their upcoming project.
Hi, I'm Tammy Thompson, and I'm the current president of the Oswego Players, which is one of the organizations that's housed in the building along with the Arts Association. We just want to thank the council for your continued support. We are one of the oldest completely all volunteer community theaters in the United States. We're pretty proud of that fact. We're happy with the stuff that you've done for us. We had a storeroom that had some mold in it, and you guys came over and took care of it. With the Shinneman grant, we're able to do some capital improvements with the building. We've made the bathroom, at least one, accessible now, which is going to be a great asset. We've upgraded some lighting, upgraded the lobby. In 2019 and 20, we were able to put in new chairs that are much more comfortable and less noisy, which makes our patron experience that much better. We have new curtains for the stage, and with the Shinneman grant, we are going to be able to move forward with replacing the south and north deck to make them accessible and much safer. They're pulling away from the building now, so we just wanted to let you know how much we've appreciated your support over the years, and we would invite you to come out. We're sad that we are shuttered right now, but we have been using this time to make the improvements that's going to improve our patron experience and make it much safer for our patrons. And we would love to have you guys come out and join us. We are hoping to open, based on what guidance we get from the state. We're hoping to have a live production in August of a show that we were ready to put up when the pandemic hit us. We'd love to have you come join us. We're working with the Fort to do some really nice stuff. So we just want to thank you for this time and thank you for hopefully extending the lease.
Thank you. Any questions for Tammy from the council? Thank you, Tammy. I did have one question for the mayor and maybe the city attorney also. I'm kind of concerned. I looked at the lease, the previous lease, and it didn't have a provision in case something happens and we want to get out of it. We just recently had to get out of a lease that we all know about. I understand that the federal government is looking at that whole area to make it a national park, and I'm not sure if this building would be something that the federal government would want to incorporate into the national park. So I'm just wondering if for some reason 2 years from now they say, well, we want that building and this building, do we have any avenues to break the lease, unfortunately, with the group? So that's basically my question. Is there any provision for that in case it happens?
It's a good question. I think it falls under, in some respects, it wouldn't be the city pursuing eminent domain as much as it would be the federal government directing that reappropriation of a building. That having been said, with the contract that we entered into with Little League for the use of the fields, that same issue came up, and we've reached out to at least SHPO, right? So it's the State Historic Preservation Office, And they're of the opinion that if the park were to become a national park, that it would be subject to what's already there in place. So there wouldn't, so in other words, the federal government wouldn't take over the operation of the ball field. And although I can't say the same for those buildings, it would seem to me that the federal government would recognize their presence, the use of those buildings by the city and its various tenants, and allow that to continue, frankly, similar to what is occurring with the lighthouse, right? So the United States Army actually owns the lighthouse. They provide the city of Oswego with, I guess, the use and maintenance of it, and then we actually lease it to the Marine or Maritime Museum. So that's the type of arrangement I'm guessing will happen, but it is just a guess, although it's an educated one. I hope that helps a little bit.
Okay, yes, it does. Thank you. Any other questions from the council for the mayor or the city attorney or Tammy? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor Hill, Councilor McBurney.
Just to confirm, who is preparing this resolution?
Legal.
Thank you. Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBurney?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Byrd?
Yes.
Item number 2, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. requests authorization to sign an agreement with the Greater Oswego Fulton Chamber of Commerce for the 2020-2021 Project Bloom projects, and to request a transfer of funds from the general fund contingent account A19900460 to the tourism contracted services account A64750440 in the amount of $9,000. Mr. Mayor?
Every year, we make a $4,500 contribution to the Chamber of Commerce because they do Project Bloom. They use the $4,500 to buy most of the plantings and the flowers, and then they get a group of volunteers who plant them one of the weekends in the spring. So it's $4,500 for 2021, and then when we were going to get the program rolling this year, they made us aware that we never paid them for 2020, so we're just combining them both for $9,000. They'll send us the invoice. We need some sort of an agreement, and we'll get them paid.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the council on this item? Public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor McBurney, Councilor Burridge.
And again, who will be preparing this one?
Legal.
Thank you. Counselor Cordino?
Yes.
Counselor McBurney?
Yes.
Counselor Hill?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Byrd?
Yes.
Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. requests authorization to sign an amendment with Alert Media Incorporated for 67,100 additional text messages and 16,400 voice minutes at $1,072 per year due to the program's success and doubling of subscribers from 1,000 to 2,000 residents. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. A few years ago, we introduced Alert Media into Oswego, and we've had more residents than I think we initially expected sign up. We're up to around 2,000 residents signed up. Just so the folks at home know, Alert Media is basically this text messaging and phone call system that you can enroll in for free, and it allows city government to send you direct text messages or phone calls about city emergencies, upcoming events and announcements that we have here, and we can get so down to neighborhoods where we can actually geofence a certain city block, or even 3, 4, or 5 specific homes. If there's a water main break in your neighborhood that only affects a handful of properties, we can alert those people directly without letting the whole city know and get an unnecessary message. So it's been handy for us in emergencies like water main breaks or boil water advisories. We're able to communicate directly, quickly, and easily to those residents. And then on a much larger scale, it's been very handy lately with things like the COVID vaccine clinics, where we've started from 9 to 5 running a clinic, and at 4 o'clock, we can send a mass text out and let people know we have doses in, and if they're eligible, they can come in between 4 and 5 and get a dose. And the amount of times that I've worked those vaccines and have had people come in and say, oh, I got this text message, I rushed straight down here, I hope I'm not too late, or their relative got the text message and shared it with them. It's been several times. So I think it's definitely a very good service that we offer. More people with time are signing up and taking advantage of it. And what we're running into is we're sending text messages, and because we're using it so often, and because so many people have signed up, we've actually already exceeded our limit that we originally signed up for. So this is an increase to our contract of just over $1,000 a year to have 67,000 more text messages, so that we don't have to worry about exceeding our limit and paying the fee, the excess fee, that's much more than just simply increasing the contract. So it's a good problem to have, and I encourage people to sign up.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Any comments or concerns from the council on this one? From the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Burridge, Counselor Plunkett.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBroody.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Item number 4, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. requests authorization to sign an agreement with TextMyGov for City of Oswego residents to communicate with the city through text messages. Mr. Mayor?
So Alert Media is a program that we use where the city can text and call you. TextMyGov is really very similar, only we allow residents to text and call us. And I actually have a demo that I can give here, but it pretty much allows anybody, anywhere at any time to ask a question to anybody in city government and get an immediate answer or get a direct guide or direct connection to our city website, to the relevant page on our website. So if everybody who has a smartphone wants to take it out, I can walk you through and you can see firsthand how this program works. If you go to send a text message, just type in the number, type in 1-435-265-4446. When we actually sign up, that'll be a 315 number. This is just their demo. And, I'll walk through a couple of examples, but let's say you have a neighbor whose rental property and the grass is growing and they aren't mowing it, and you want to figure out how something can be done about it. You want to text that phone number I just told you and just type code. Actually, type, even better than that, type tall grass.
Mayor, could you repeat the number? I think I missed it.
It's right here. It's on that piece of
Oh,
paper.
it's on the paper, I'm sorry.
So if you typed in tall grass, you should have got a text back that says enter a description of the code issue. And you can type in tall grass or neighbor isn't mowing lawn. You should get a second message that says enter, actually it says enter a description of the code issue again. Let me just type this. Yeah. There, so type in, I was right the first time, type in, if you're a neighbor and there's a code enforcement issue in your neighborhood, type in code or code enforcement. You should get a message that comes back and says code options are tall grass, junk vehicle, abandoned property, unsafe structure, standing water, graffiti, obstruction, unpermitted, zoning issue, health issue, right? So, now you can type in whatever that code issue is. You can type in tall grass or unmowed lawn, whatever. You should get, then now it should say enter a description. I typed in neighbor isn't mowing lawn. Now it says step 2 of 4, enter location. So you would enter the address, it could be your address, but you would enter the address of your neighbor who's not mowing the lawn. I'm just going to put in, I'm not going to give out my address, but I'll say 13 West Oneida, which is City Hall. You send that. Then it texts you back and says, what is your name? Or you can be anonymous, just text anonymous. In step 4 of 4, if you want, this isn't required, you can upload a picture or just text back done. And once you text back done or upload that picture, that message or succession of messages is going to go directly into the email of the code enforcement office, either one point person in code enforcement or the whole department think in this case, we're going to set up a department-wide email where they'll get those messages. They'll be chronological by in the time that they come in, and then our staff knows what the issue is, where to go, and how to take care of the issue. I'll just run through another quick example because I fumbled the first one kind of. Let's type in animals. Actually, you were supposed to type in done first. Or animal control. And then so it should have just texted you back and said, thank you, the code issue's been reported. So I typed in animal, and it wrote back, your animal control, animal services options are stray animal, cat, dog, loose animal, aggressive animal, abuse animal, lost, found, or text adoptable animals. I'll just put in, you could put in, loose dog. And then you can see, I won't go through the whole thing again, but you can see, where's the address where you're seeing this, type in the description, and you can remain anonymous. And then like issues in the clerk's office, so let's just say you're sitting home, you're new to the community, or you don't really know where to go for a marriage license, you can type in marriage license. Code enforcement, you can type in building permit, it'll bring you to a link right to the building permit form that you can print out. So it's really, if you have a phone, you can talk to city government at any time and have a report generated, a complaint registered, or get the form you need with 1 to 4 text messages. So it's a nice system. Canandaigua uses this system, and we checked with them. They're real pleased with how it's gone. The biggest issue, obviously, will just be getting the word out and letting people know that this is a service they can use. It's very affordable, similar to Alert Media. It's $4,800 a year. So I think really just increasing accessibility to City Hall and letting city services and communication be available to our residents pretty much at all times, 1 click away.
All right, thank you. And where are we getting the money for this, Mayor?
It can be from the either general contingent, because I'm sure Mark won't want to take it out of his budget.
Okay.
Computer services, yeah.
Computer services? Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions from the council? Yes, Councilor Hill first.
Who builds the automatic response system? Is that something that we would do internally, or does their staff?
No,
work
it's, so
with that?
we actually can decide how we want the
Right.
path to work. We did a demo, and that's really the path we had, but you can add in, so the company has a whole list of questions. They take our city website, which luckily is a very comprehensive website, and they upload that and plug it into their software, and then city government can actually pick the sequence of messages. So we could go in, and instead of that 4-step question, we could make it 6, or we can make it 2. We get to pick how many, and we also get to pick the nature of the questions. The building permit is a very simple thing. Rather than all these questions, just bring them to the link on the city website. They click that. It's a 1-step, transaction or conversation. The code issue, we think it's relevant that you give us the address, the nature of the issue. One thing about making something so simple is that people will find excuses to use it, and we don't just want them to be talking to the system for no reason. So we try to pinpoint an issue and make them specific so that we can be effective in the field. But city government gets to pick the number of questions and the questions that come up.
Councilor McBurney?
Is there a way to add counselors' emails to the issues that are relevant?
Yeah,
Code violations, nuisances?
Yeah, now this, I don't know if we can assign an email to certain addresses. I don't know if the software is going to know to send 82 West 3rd to your email and not Kevin's. I highly doubt it, but maybe. But certainly, the whole council can get every complaint that comes in, or just code complaints citywide, but we can control the emails that get a response. But just talking to staff here, what we thought the easiest and probably most effective route to do is when a text comes in that's relevant to a city department, in this case, let's say code enforcement, everybody at code, it'll be a standard email that everybody has access to in code enforcement. Now, DPW, it's going to be totally different because there's no reason for, Carrie, who's working the desk, to know about a water main break. That's going to go right to Tom or Craig, right? So it's going to be different for every department. City clerk will be, everybody, I think, will probably get a request for a marriage certificate. So kind of depends, but we can control that as well.
Any other questions or concerns from the council, from the public? Seeing none, can I? Oh, one in the back, Mr. Malone, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you can sign up and learn to use it, but if you don't, then you got to call. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing. I can do one finger. Yeah. Well, you can one finger the text or do what you've always done, and that's. I don't think you can do FaceTime.
So basically, Mayor, you're not saying that the counselors still can't be called? I mean, we could still be called by a resident.
Oh, yeah,
I
I
have
mean,
a lot of elderly
we're not introducing this and eliminating every other method.
Right.
It's just another option that, I think a lot of people who can send a text message will use and find helpful. It's, very easy. Even though our website is state-of-the-art and accessible, and even though I think we publicize our phone numbers and Facebook pages and our office hours, I think we all still hear sometimes it's hard to get a hold of us, even though we may think it isn't. Well, this really is a direct line to city government, and we've seen it work the other way with Alert Media, so makes sense.
And this would be 24 hours a day. I mean, 3 o'clock in the
Anytime,
mornings?
yeah. I mean, it's going to hit their email the second you send it, and, if code wants to get up and handle it on a Saturday, they can. If they want to wait till Monday, they can, I guess do that too.
All right. Anybody else? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor McBurney, Counselor Hill.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurney.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Item number 5, the Engineering Office requests authorization for the mayor to sign change order number 10 with Patricia Electric Incorporated for the East Side Wastewater Treatment Plant Asset Management Plan Improvement Project in the amount of $13,876.92. Mr. Hindeletter?
Well, good evening. So real quick on these ones, it's really made up of 2 parts. One is just the miscellaneous electrical charges, which mostly is a credit, where we eliminated some wiring and conduit and things going to one location, but then moved that stuff to another, and it ended up being net credit. The other charge is due to some changes that were requested by the East Side Sewer operators, so by Camden Group and the team they have operating there. There's a little bit of redesign work that has to happen and documentation, and so the second part of that is that fee. So altogether, the net cost of the change order is $13,876.92 for this change order.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the council on this change order from the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Hill.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurney.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Item number 6, the Engineering Office requests authorization for the mayor to sign change order number 11 with Patricia Electric Incorporated for the East Side Wastewater Treatment Plan Asset Management Plan Improvement Project in the amount of $12,690.05.
Okay, a couple other items. So if you remember last fall, there were change orders issued to deal with unexpected rock or unplanned rock excavation being in the conduit. It's not really unplanned. We knew rock was going to be there, but the engineers at the time decided to just get a price but not actually secure any quantity. So we took care of all those. There was one more duct bank that had to be dug out. So that change order is in here. And then during excavation, they found some unmarked and unknown conduits. Upon investigating, it was going to be pretty costly if we had to move those conduits out of the way. And so we redesigned to run it a different direction, but that'll require us to replace a little bit of sidewalk that's at the plant. And so there's an additional cost for that. So that puts the total change order, as the President said, $12,690.05.
All right. And that brings the total, according to your notes that you provided for the cost of this project, at $3,557,995.83 with those two change orders. Any questions or comments from the council? From the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor McBurney, Counselor Hill.
Counselor Coardino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurney.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Counselor Burge.
Item number 7, the Engineering Office requests authorization for the mayor to sign Amendment Number 11 with GHD Consulting Engineers, LLC, in the amount of $17,000 for the required consent decree quarterly reporting. Jeff?
So this amendment is a carryover. Since 2010, we've paid GHD to do annual filings with the DEC. This is part of our consent decree. So every year, every quarter of that year, we report what's going on in our sewer plants, what's going on in our sewer system. And so this retains GHD for one more year to continue doing that practice for us. So this is very much business as usual. And I think this is in good practice for us. They stay much on top of it and have a good rapport and have done really well managing this.
You mentioned one more year. Do you anticipate any more after that?
So now that our consent decree is generally over, we will start monitoring, and the hope is once we've satisfied the consent decree, we'll be able to then stop having to report in this manner. We'll still have reporting requirements and things that are part of our permits, but the extra burden of having to do this quarterly reporting to show our progress will one day, hopefully soon, stop.
All right, very good. Thank you. Any questions from the council on this one? From the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Burge, Counselor Plunkett.
Counselor Coardino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurney.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Item number 8, the Engineering Office requests authorization for the mayor to sign the professional services agreement with CNS and Companies for the West First Street Storm Sewer Improvement Project in the amount of $56,530. You're up.
So, the location of where this work is happening, some story or backlog that goes with it. Down on West First Street, across from the former Shapiro parking lot, you had the Varick Power Dam, hydropower dam, that's owned by Brookfield. There's also a switch yard there that contains switches owned by National Grid, operated by National Grid rather, and that feed our dam, High Dam. They feed the hospital. They feed this, I believe the third one is either the city or the college. But that small substation is pretty important. Last summer, Brookfield called about a sinkhole opening inside that switchyard. I responded, and what we found was that a storm sewer outfall that lies there that's historical, it's probably been there since the 20s, has definitely seen better days. It appears one of the manholes has collapsed. The outfall pipe itself has collapsed. We have a lot of destabilization occurring in that embankment because of it. In investigating, what I found was during the sewer separation phase that went through there, we installed a new storm sewer that runs down First Street. But all the catch basins that were installed were actually tied into this 1920s storm sewer rather than the new storm sewer. And so since then, we've been relying on this antiquated that we have no records on, no way to really inspect. And what we have found is water that is finding its way into the embankment from the forebay of the dam, so you have that pool of water that goes into the generators. That's higher than the river, so that introduces pressure against the earth. And that old canal wall, it's the old Varick Canal wall, is just stone. And so water gets pushed into that embankment, and wherever it finds a hole, it can come out. We have a collapsed clay pipe that's down in that storm sewer it's almost against that canal wall. And it makes it extremely difficult to repair, extremely difficult to get in there because you have all that hydrostatic pressure pushing against you while you're trying to work. Through dye testing and manhole inspections and that, we've pinpointed where the problem is. But from my perspective, I don't want to repair something that's bad. The solution is we have a brand-new storm sewer that we put in the sewer separation, and we need to abandon the old and get rid of it. It is a project that will take a fair amount of work to survey it, to lay it all out. Given all the other duties that we have going on and discussion with the mayor, we decided that this would be one that we would pass off and then we could have someone do. So we solicited requests from C&S companies. This is their price in order to do the project. And so this includes survey, includes design, bidding, and construction observation all at once for a total of $56,530. But this will go a long way to stabilizing that embankment. If you've walked down there, you'll notice that that switchback is unstable. You'll see that like slabs have moved. You'll see stone armoring that's there has moved and settled. So there's quite a bit of problem there, and the first step will be to stop the water from going in. And then at that point, that's all the switchyard Brookfield manages, and so they'll be able to repair their portion, and then we can start looking at if there's any further work that will need to be done to stabilize that area. But the first step is to stop it from continuing on.
All right, thank you for that detailed explanation. Any questions or concerns from the council on this one? Yes, Councilor Plunkett.
I'd say $56,000 sounds like a bargain to address all those problems, because it sounds like a big job, Jeff.
It's going to be a fair amount of work, but it's a lot of detailed work.
Yeah.
The solution, I'll say, is simple but not easy.
Right.
You know, it's simple in that change a few drainage structures to get the water to flow a different direction, but it's going to be a little bit of threading the needle, a lot of deep excavation. Those pipes are deep, the new ones, and so it'll be a good amount of work. So I would expect at some point, probably towards the end of summer, we'll be coming forward with a actual construction contract and an estimate for you to consider to actually pull it off. This is just the professional services portion and to get an idea of what it'll be.
All right, thank you. Again, any questions or concerns? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor Hill, Councilor Burridge.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McGroarty.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Item number 9, Tom Kells, DPW Commissioner, requests authorization to enter into a lease agreement with Circle T Enterprises LLC to lease a small area on city property at the DPW garage. Is there anyone here to speak to it? I see Deputy Commissioner Craig Rebuor stepping up to the plate.
Good evening. Mr. Kells couldn't be here, asked me to stop by and say a few words on this lease agreement. Circle T Enterprises is a fairly new venture. Mr. Simmons is here. He can, if anybody's got any questions for him after I'm done. We had a corner of the property at the DPW out on Mitchell Street, unused, overgrown with weeds, underbrush, old plows. We've cleaned all that up to make room for this. It's going to be an improvement to our area. This is a one-year short-term agreement with this company to help them get off the ground. I think it's a bonus for us. We're going to collect revenue on the lease agreement itself. We're going to collect revenue on the metered water that's already available at the DPW. There's no no infrastructure we need to add. And tax revenue. Whatever services that they provide, we're going to benefit from tax revenue in the city. It's a win-win. No real downfall to this.
All right, thank you. In this packet that was given to us, I didn't see a lease agreement. Has there been a lease agreement drawn up yet? So you mentioned that we would be collecting rent, but at this point, are we still in negotiation with them, or do we have a number?
It's my understanding in talking with the mayor, that's $400 a month, and would be a basic lease agreement, as Mr. Rebior said, be 12, up to 12 months, and $400 for a roughly 100 by 100 foot space.
Okay, thank you.
That you'll have an agreement to review prior to voting on this.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Deputy Commissioner Rebior? Anybody from the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor Hill, Councilor Plunkett.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBrearty.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Byrd.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 10, Fire Chief Randall B. Griffin is requesting discussion regarding adjustments in the City of Oswego Fire Department ambulance rates. And I see the Fire Chief stepping up to the plate.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the city engineer for going first. Mine are all softballs compared to his. Thank you. So this is just an administrative periodic review of ambulance rates. Last time, I think it was in 2015. So it's been some time with the fire department personnel adjustments in 2016. Wasn't much cause to readjust ambulance rates at that time. So we are now looking at across the board changes that are around a little bit above average, but certainly not at the high end of what the market currently is for rates. One of the biggest changes we made was actually having a figure when it comes to ambulance rates for hourly special events. The previous councils wanted it open-ended with actual costs. The issue for that is for planning, for instance, the high school for football games. As the fire chief, I can't give them a price of what it's going to cost until I find out who's going to do it. So obviously on their end, it makes it very challenging for them to budget for that. So what I've done is tried to meet those same requirements of having actual cost. I took the 90th percentile of staff and their whole cost and built in the price based on that. So it accomplishes what the previous council set out to do of charging actual costs, but at the same time allows people like, for instance, the high school athletic department to be able to budget what it would cost for ambulance coverage.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any concerns from the council on this one? Councilor Hill.
How do these rates compare with like a private service, say Mentor, for example? Are they on par?
Yes, we can't price fix, so you can't look at any one vendor to set your prices against.
Sure.
But what I can do is I can look regionally. We use Multimed as our billing agency, so we can look across central New York at their numbers, and so we are slightly above average, but certainly not on the high end of what those ambulance rates are.
Okay, great.
All right, anybody else? Anybody in the public? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Councilor Plunkett and Councilor McBrearty.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBrearty.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Byrd.
Yes.
Item number 11, Fire Chief Randall B. Griffin is requesting permission to make an intra-departmental transfer from Fire Department Personnel Services account number A34100101 to A34100480, Fire Clothing Allowance. Chief?
Yep, this is a simple movement of money from one account to another to accommodate 4 new recruits who weren't here during budget time. So this would move money where we would normally give them a check for their uniform allowance. It moves it over to our uniform account where we would purchase things for them and then subtract from there. So it's simply an adjustment, moving money from one section to another.
And we give the recruit the option, either or? Is
Yeah,
that how this
generally, normally, yes, employees have the option. For new employees, because of the cost of the Class A uniform and their work uniforms and things like that, this makes much more sense for them because their uniform allowance goes a lot farther. So we try to highly encourage them to use this. And at the same time, then we can control what's being purchased, where if I cut you a check, I don't have any control over what you buy.
Got it. Okay. Any questions for the chief on this one? Seems pretty easy. Anybody else? Okay, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Burridge, Counselor Hill.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurdy.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Item number 12, the city clerk's office, on behalf of Mark Slozik, city historian, requests that the city chamberlain be authorized to accept a donation from the William G. Pomeroy Foundation for the purchase of a plaque that will be placed at the U.S. Custom House, which is the Conway Building. And is there anyone here to speak to that? I don't see anybody, but this is a pretty standard thing that over the past 6 or 7 years that I've been here, I've seen. This organization is responsible for donating monies for the installation of plaques, historic plaques, and they want to put one across the street to commemorate our building. Anybody have any questions on this one or concerns? It's just accepting a $292 donation for the plaque. Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor McBurdy, Counselor Burridge.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurdy.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Item number 13. The city clerk's office has received a request from the Oswego Speedway for a 2021 race license. I don't see any, oh, there is somebody here from the clerk's office. Does anybody want to speak to this? This is a standard operating procedure. They have to buy a license every year. We do this every year. Anybody have any questions? I think just an accounting procedure here to accept this. Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Hill.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurdy.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Item number 14, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. and Jennifer Riebel, Personnel Director, request an executive session for discussion regarding a personnel matter. At this time, I'll take a motion for this committee to go into executive session. Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Hill.
Counselor Coordino.
Yes.
Counselor McBurdy.
Yes.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.